everyone, I'm JD from Willow Bound Journals. Welcome back to my channel. I have a craft with me video today working with these collages that I made. So how I made these was with manila folder, and I just ruled them or measured them and cut them to the size of the Reader's Digest books that I use for my hardcover journals a lot of the time. So if you've seen my vintage French journals, I usually use Reader's Digest books for those journal covers, and what I do is I use these manila folder bases as my collage base, so it's nice and sturdy. I can glue different pieces of paper on top of it and stitch around the outside, and then what I do is glue the manila folder collage onto the book cover to create my journal covers. And I wanted to try some different ones here. I'm really enjoying collage at the moment, so usually I have made these with the vintage French theme, but this time I just grabbed a whole bunch of vintage different papers. So I've got a mixture of book pages and music paper, and a lot of these are just a way to use up scraps or a way to use up book pages. So often I'll go to the op shop and I'll buy a bunch of books. I'll strip the books so that I can use the cover for some journals, and then you're left over with all of these pages and pages. So I wanted to make use of all these pages, and one of the best ways for me to use them anyway is to rip them up and turn them into collages. And I love that when you get different types of books, you have different color tones to the paper. Some are more brown, some are more cream, and pairing it with some music paper or any different types of paper is wonderful. So I've already pre-prepared these, and now what I'm doing is using tissue paper from pattern pouches. Again, I love looking for these pattern pouches in op shops, and I use the pouch itself to create journal covers. And with the tissue paper inside with all the patterns on them, I love using those to cover up the collage. It kind of serves two purposes. One, it lays everything down, so it's sort of like a sealant, acts as a sealant almost, but also it makes it look really cool, decorative. And I love having these textured elements too. So you could spread it out completely flat, or you could crinkle it, like intentionally crinkle it a bit more so that you do have more of this texture. Or however it falls is how it falls. So some come out smoother than others, some come out with a bit of texture, some come out with a lot of texture. I'm not fussed, just however it naturally falls is wonderful. And so I'm just using a Bostik glue stick. I do like using the blue glue stick where possible, because I like being able to see where I have applied the glue. You kind of do need to be a little bit careful, just making sure you get good coverage, and especially around the edges of each piece of paper. Otherwise you do get some air bubbles and that kind of thing. I don't mind too many air bubbles, and especially if they're just small, it kind of adds a bit of texture as well. But you don't want, a whole huge air bubble. Well, maybe you do. And that's the great thing about junk journals. Literally anything goes with junk journals. It's such a wonderful, creative, joyful way to create journals, create collages, create pages, create anything, embellishments. It's very forgiving. And like, for example, if you did have an air bubble, I wouldn't be too fussed, again, because anything goes. But with junk journals, you just cover it over, like just get a sticker or glue something on top of that thing, staple some lace on there, sew a bit of fabric on top, just cover it up. You can always cover up mistakes in the world of junk journals. So I've got quite a few of these collage bases, and I'm not too sure how I'm going to use them yet. I was just having fun. Sometimes I'm not sure what I want to create, and I don't have any intention about what I'm going to create, but I know that I just need to do something with my hands, and it's therapeutic for me just to do something with my hands and create something. And I find collage quite therapeutic for me because I don't necessarily have to have an end vision in mind, because you can always turn it into something anyway. So with these, I could turn them into collage covers, the way I turn my vintage French collages into covers, or I can cut them up and turn them into journal cards or into tags, or create pockets with them, or just keep them as is and they sort of create floating journal pages. There's so many ways. You could just keep it as is as well, and frame it, put it on your wall, put it on your desk. There's so many options you can do. You can leave it as is, or you can add some flower stickers, maybe add a bit of lace and trim, add a bit of wallpaper, add a bit of colour, add a bit of florals. There's so much you could do with these if you wanted to, but again, you could just leave it neutral as is. I was wondering, do I keep it as it is? Because I was starting to get attached to these collages. In fact, I did make these quite a while ago. It's taken me a bit of time now to do the voiceover, and now I'm remembering my intention with these was actually to make small journal cards with these. But what happened was, as I was making them and saw the finished collage, I just really liked them full size. This is the problem. You get attached to your work and sometimes it can be hard to cut it up. But now that some time has passed, I was looking at them again so I could arrange them and take the thumbnail shot for this video. And as I was looking at them again, I've created a bit of distance between myself and my creation now, and I'm okay with cutting them up. And sometimes that's like a little tip. If you're feeling very attached to something you've created, just leave it a while, like put it away for a month, out of sight, out of mind, and then pull it out again and see if you're still attached. Often that's what happens with my journals too. I'll make myself like 5-10 journals thinking that I'm going to use them because I've become attached to the covers or the entire journal. But what often happens is I won't actually use them, and then a month will go by, multiple months will go by, maybe even a year or more will go by, and I'll look at that journal and all of a sudden I'm not as attached to it anymore, and I'm okay with parting with it. I don't know. That's one way to find out if you really are attached to something you create. Could be anything, like a possession, a job, a location. Just leave it for a while. Just don't think about it for a while, and if you're not drawn to it within that month, if you're not going back to it in the month going, I really need that thing, or I really need to see that thing or use that thing, and then after a month or however long you look at it again, and if you didn't miss it for that time period, and if when you find it again you're not completely attached and in love with it anymore, then that might be a sign that you can part with it. So these, I'm totally happy now to cut these up. But I've created quite a few of them, so maybe some of them I'll keep as covers and do a vintage theme, neutral theme journal. And for the others, I might cut them up and maybe, who knows, put the cut up journal cards and tags inside the journal with the cover. In fact, I think that sounds like a fun challenge now that I'm speaking about that out loud. I'll maybe keep one set of covers, turn it into a journal, and then use all of the ephemera that I make with the rest and put them in the journal, because that way everything will go together and it will match. So I quite like that idea. We'll see what happens though. And going back to that earlier thought, sometimes I will have journal covers or journals that even after a year or 2 years, I'm not going to part with them because they do mean something to me. They do speak to me, resonate with me, make me happy, make me smile, give me joy. And so those ones, I will definitely keep. Whereas others, on a whim, I just make it. I'm like, I'm so attached. And then maybe a couple months later, I'll look at it and be like, it was nice, but it's not for me anymore. Well, often, I'll have plans for how I'm going to use a journal, and then a year will pass, and the inspiration is gone. I just finished reading Big Magic for the second time by Elizabeth Gilbert. Great book, definitely recommend it. And one of the things that she said really resonated with me the second time round about how inspiration, it comes and goes, and that's okay. And that feeling when you're inspired, you're riding that high, it's joyful, it's like you can't think of anything else, and you've got so much energy, and you will put aside everything else just to do this thing that you're inspired to do. But if that inspiration goes, or if you're just not inspired to do something, the way she described it was something like the living heart of it was gone. And I so totally get that, because I know that feeling of inspiration, it will carry you through anything. No matter how hard it is, no matter how much work it takes, no matter how much time it takes, you will keep at that thing because you've just got that feeling of inspiration. But if you don't have that feeling of inspiration, or if you lose it, you know it. You can tell straight away if you have inspiration or you don't. And sometimes when you don't have it and you're trying to force it, it just does not work. And I mean, as a writer, I feel that as well. There's some books that I really want to do, but there's no inspiration. Like, it's just this desire to do it, but because I'm lacking that inspiration, like I'm trying to force it, I'm trying to make it happen, but there's just no heart, there's no life to the project, to my words, because the inspiration isn't there. The living, breathing, beating heart of it isn't there. And so what I've learned to do in those moments, in those times, is just to put aside, to know it doesn't have to come out now. It's not ready now. And maybe it never will be, but to trust if it is ready, when it's ready, it will come out. And sometimes you just have to be patient and wait. And same with creating. Sometimes, I'm just not in the mood to make a journal. And I can force myself, especially because it's my job, I can, get in the groove and make a journal. But with a bigger project, for example, like I really need to be inspired, if I'm going to be putting my heart and soul into it, I need to, have that living, breathing, beating heart in it. And so sometimes, I'm totally happy waiting. It might take me a week or 3 weeks or a month or two until I'm ready to do a big journal project. And that's okay, because I know I can trust that I'll be inspired eventually. I don't know, just learning about yourself, learning about what inspiration feels like, learning about how you work, and learning about your own creative flow. And, I get lots of questions, and there's lots of talk about creative block, writer's block, all that kind of thing. And I always just kind of say, just go with it. If I'm not feeling it, I won't create. Like, I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel guilty about it. I just take a break. I'll do something else that interests me. So that's another thing I recommend. Have multiple interests, if you're not feeling like creating, yes, I get it that we want to create. As a writer, I always want to be writing, but I don't always feel inspired to write. And I get, as creative people, we want to always be creating. But if you're just not feeling it, that's okay. Life is bigger than, junk journals. We are multifaceted people, have other interests. So for me, I'll read a book, I'll watch a movie, I'll play some music, I'll do a dance, I'll go chat with some friends, I'll, meet up with friends for a lunch or a meal. I might call a friend and have an hour chat. And, sometimes all it takes is an hour away doing something else, and I'm inspired again to work on something creative. Other times it could take me a week or longer. There have been times where I've been in, creative ruts. And yes, sometimes I feel like, oh man, I really just want to create. I want to, but I can't. Another tip for those times, this is a very chatty, rambler video. This is what I hope to do with craft with me videos like this. I have an art journal, so that's my kind of outlet where I don't have to create anything perfect or finished or polished or beautiful. That's literally just when I have a desire to create but I'm uninspired. That's what my art journal is for, where I can just purely express. I'm frustrated, I want to create but I can't, I hate this feeling, this is the worst, and all of that just goes straight into my art journal. Messy writing, me venting, and that's just enough, really. And even if the creative inspiration doesn't come after that, I kind of feel like that's okay, because I got what I needed to get out in some sort of written creative way in my art journal. So that's my outlet anyway. And sometimes I just need that whenever I'm overwhelmed with feelings, like this overwhelming desire to create, but this overwhelming inability to. Write about that, create from there. Like, that's something I also suggest as a way of getting out of being stuck. So expression, just pure expression. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's just getting out how you're feeling. So whatever it is that you're feeling, just do that, express that, write that, and do it however you want. It doesn't have to be through creativity, art journaling, or writing. Tell someone about it. Tell them how you're feeling, or put it into a dance, or listen to a song that expresses it, or read a book where other people's words can express it for you. But just, I really hope, don't beat yourself up if you're in a creative rut. If you're creatively blocked, don't add to it by judging yourself for it, putting your pressure on yourself to create. You're a full human. Embrace the fullness of yourself. There are other things to do. And if you are that desperate to do something but have this inability to try just venting on a page, or just let something out. That's that's the key for me anyway, is just let something out. That gets me unstuck, and I might not be creating anything beautiful or meaningful or purposeful, but it's helping me get unstuck, just that pure expression. Anyway, very chatty video with a lot of thoughts, but I hope you like how these collages have turned out, and maybe you want to give them a go yourself. Just really simple collage. And another little tip, use white pages, use white book pages, because as soon as you add the brown tissue paper, it transforms it into vintage. So if you don't have vintage papers, that's totally okay. Use white ones, and look how the brown transforms it. So yeah, maybe you want to give that a go at home, some collaging and tissue papering. And I will see you guys in the next video, and I'll hopefully figure out how I'm going to use this and share that with you in the future too. Bye guys. Thank you so much to my beautiful patrons who supported me in October and allowed me to create and share videos for another month. If you'd like to become a patron in November and support what I do here, that would be so appreciated. I'll leave the link below to my Patreon in the description box below, where you get access to extra videos, first preference for my journals, behind the scenes updates, and if you're a Ruby tier or high, you get every single digital kit from my Etsy plus an extra one every month. And there are also some mail tiers. You get something sent to you in the mail.